if you're watching this video, then something that I am extremely confident to be able to guess about you is that you care so much about people, and the last thing that you would ever want to do is harm someone, especially harm your family members, especially harm your child or whoever it is that your brain is just convincing you of and just consuming you with these thoughts and this fear and this panic that you are going to harm this person. And that is why harm OCD can be so hard. It can be so just such a struggle and just awful to have to face such horrific thoughts about people that you care about so much. And it begs the question, why does harm OCD happen? Like, why do people get so stuck in their brains thinking all the time about harming people that they would never want to harm, people that they care about so much? Why do people struggle with harm OCD? That is what I'm going to break down for you today in this video in a way that I'm confident you have never heard before, is exactly why the harm OCD is happening, how you can take that knowledge, that understanding, and know that the OCD isn't real. There's no power there. It is lying to you. You will never actually harm that person that your brain is trying to convince you that you will. And the two steps, the two steps that you can take to conquer intrusive thoughts, because I know with harm OCD, intrusive thoughts is like the big, awful, scary part of the harm OCD. So if it is worth your time watching this video so that you can learn those things, then I want you to go into this video focused, paying attention. I want you to go into this video just ready to get the very most out of it, because the strategies in this video can change your life. I've seen it change people's lives. I've seen it bring so much relief and so much freedom to people. So let's dive right into this. Harm OCD. Why does harm OCD happen? That's the first question, the first thing to understand is what is causing it psychologically? What is going on in your brain that's causing you to have all these thoughts that you are so against? So the first thing to understand is that every human, no matter what, has 4 psychological needs. The first one is safety and survival. The second one is freedom and control. The third one is significance, or being good enough, being a good person. And the fourth one is love and connection. So how do the 4 needs have anything to do with these awful intrusive thoughts? Here's where it starts to connect. Your brain, when your brain thinks that there is something that is out of your control that can stop one or multiple of the needs from being met in a way that's out of your control again, then your brain is going to obsess over whatever that danger or threat is. So for you, if you have harm OCD, then at some point your brain, your subconscious mind memorized that it's possible that you could, in a way that is out of your control, you could harm someone that you love or just harm someone in general. And your brain has memorized that if you do harm someone, if you harm your child or whoever it is, your brain's memorized that that will make it so that one or probably all of your needs won't be met, right? If you harm someone you love, then safety and survival, like their safety, their need for safety, or if it's, self-harm OCD, then the need for safety isn't there. The need for control isn't there, because if you're harming someone, that makes you feel so out of control, or even just having the thoughts of harming someone makes you feel so out of control. It makes you feel like your need for being good enough, being a good person isn't met, because, I'm an awful person, and I would be a terrible person forever if I actually harmed someone. And love and connection, it's probably someone that you love a ton that your brain is attacking with those harm thoughts, right? So your brain has memorized that, holy cow, it is possible. You could lose control, right? Your brain could take control from you and it could cause you to harm someone. And your brain has memorized that if that happened, it would make it so that your needs are not met. So then here's the crucial thing to understand about the human mind, is your brain thinks the only way it can protect you from a danger being something that will stop your needs from being met, your brain thinks the only way it can protect you from a danger is by making you think about it, making you aware of it, and causing a negative emotion, usually fear, towards that thing, right? Because if there's a tiger chasing you, then you've got to be aware of it. You've got to be thinking about the tiger. If you're sitting here thinking about what you're going to have for lunch, then the tiger's going to eat you. Right? So you've got to think about it. You have to be aware of the tiger, and you've got to feel all this fear, all this adrenaline, so then you can protect yourself, right? Because negative emotion is telling your brain there's something bad, there's something that will make it so our needs aren't met, right? Negative emotions are a signal, a warning of there's something bad. We need to do something to protect ourselves from it, to avoid it, to make sure that thing doesn't happen. And then here's taking it a step further, is your brain thinks the only way it can make sure that you think about the danger, and the only way it can make sure that you feel that fear, that negative emotion towards it, is if your brain can convince you that the threat is real and that the threat is something that's terrifying and awful and will make it so your needs aren't met. Right? Because in order for you to run away from that tiger and escape it, your brain has to actually make it so you think, holy cow, there's a tiger, that tiger is going to eat me, I have to escape it. Right? So your brain does the same thing with the harm. Your brain thinks there's this danger if I could lose control and harm someone. So then your brain thinks it has to convince you, it has to always be convincing you that you could lose control and harm someone, because that's the only way that you'll make sure you think about it and that you'll make sure you feel a negative emotion towards it, so that then you can make sure you do whatever it takes to protect yourself from that thing happening. So you can protect yourself from losing control and harming someone. Like, that is why your brain is so convincing. That's why there's always evidence of why you're actually going to hurt them this time. Oh, but I heard this story about this lady that did hurt her kids, so that means I actually will. Oh, but there's whatever it is. Your brain's going to always be thinking up evidence, even if it's totally bizarre, fake evidence that has nothing to do with you hurting your kids, that would actually not make it at all, so you're going to take the action. Your brain is going to distort reality. It's going to cause you to imagine things up. It's going to change the way you perceive everything in your life to try to convince you that you're going to harm the person in your life, because it thinks that's the only way that you'll be able to prove to yourself or do something to make sure you don't harm them. So your brain, in an attempt to protect you, in an attempt to make it so that you will never harm someone, because your brain is so against harming someone, and your brain thinks that is the worst possible thing that can ever happen, that will make it so all of your needs aren't met. That is why your brain is always making you thinking about harming people, and that's why your brain is always trying to convince you that you actually will. Right? So with the intrusive thoughts, that's why the thought is so intrusive and it just takes over your brain, is because your brain's like, holy cow, there's a huge danger right now of you could take that, whatever, the knife, and do that thing, and then your brain's like, holy cow, that is such a huge threat right now that you have to think about it. And boom, it's going to send that image into your brain so powerfully, because your brain thinks if you don't think about this right now, then an awful danger is going to happen. So you have to think about it, right? So the reason you're having the intrusive thought is not because you're going to do it. It's because your brain is so against that thing happening. That's why it's making you think about it. And your brain might memorize that the intrusive thought itself makes it so your needs aren't met, right? Oh, if just having the harm intrusive thought makes me a bad person, it means I'm going to take an action. It means I'm disgusting. It's awful. It makes me feel out of control. So then, because your brain thinks the thought itself is a danger, then what is your brain going to do to try to protect you from that danger? It's going to make you think about it. So your brain's just going to keep making you think the intrusive thoughts over and over. And that's why the more you're like, no, I don't want to think that, and you try to get rid of it and all of that, the more your brain's just going to think it more and more. And it's going to become more and more consuming, more powerful. Because the more you try to protect yourself from it, the more your brain says you have to think about it so you can protect yourself from it. And it's the same thing with the stories, all the convincing evidence, right? Your brain's trying to convince you, so it's going to think of every possible evidence and distort reality to make you believe that you're actually going to do it. And that's why you're going to feel so much fear, right? The hardest part possibly is all the fear that you feel. You feel so much anxiety that you think, oh, because I'm so afraid of it, it means it must actually be something that's going to happen. No. Your brain wants to create tons of fear because it thinks the more fear you experience, the more you will make sure you protect yourself from that thing happening. And to take it to the last step, a lot of times people with harm OCD, they experience what they think is an urge to take the action. Right? They're like, holy cow, that was an urge. That meant I wanted to take the action. No. Your brain thinks it has to convince you that you want to take the action. Your brain thinks it has to convince you will take the action, because that's the only way that you can make sure you don't, and that's the only way you can make sure that you overcome all of the reasons why you might take the action. So your brain is going to cause it to feel like you had an urge. It's going to cause whatever you're feeling it's going to use that as evidence. Oh, see, that was an urge. And it's going to distort the way you experience your emotions to make it feel like it's an urge. Or it's going to create emotions that feel like an urge, even though it's not an urge of you wanting to do it. It's that you're so against doing it that your brain, trying to convince you that you will do it to protect you, is going to cause that urge. Right, a story that I love to show how this can work is in World War II. There was this doctor that was treating injured soldiers. So these soldiers, they were getting shot and all these super painful, like incredibly painful injuries. And at one point during one of the battles, the doctor ran out of morphine, the pain medicine. But instead of sending the soldiers away, the doctor got saline solution, which medically does nothing for pain, not a thing. But the doctor told the soldiers, here's your morphine, this is gonna get rid of the pain. Like, the doctor told that to the soldiers. So when the soldiers got the saline solution, they believed, they expected it to be morphine. And so they expected it to get rid of their pain. So the crazy thing was, in 90+% of the soldiers, they saw either a total removal of the pain or a mass reduction in pain, because their brain expected it to happen so much that it caused them to physically feel the sensations as if it was happening. Your brain is trying to convince you so much that you're going to harm someone, and it's on the lookout so much of, oh, you're going to harm someone, always, in a sense, making you expect that it's going to happen so much that it's going to create the physical feeling that makes it feel like it's an urge, even when it's not. It's just your brain trying to protect you. So that's the big first thing to understand with all the harm OCD. Is it just because you're thinking it, just because you're feeling it, just because it seems so real and it seems so true and so convincing that you're actually going to harm them? No, it's all just nothing. It's all just a story in your mind. It's all just a pattern you've memorized in your brain. That's it. It's all just your brain trying to protect you. It's your brain being so against harming someone. It's your brain being so set and determined on never harming someone. Like, literally, that is the last thing you would ever do, is harm someone. And that's why your brain is doing all these things to try to protect you so fully, right? The more out of control you feel, the more it seems your brain thinks there's a chance that could happen, the more it's going to cause you to think and feel, and the more it's going to try to convince you it's going to happen, to protect you even more, to make sure you're protected even more. That's all it's doing, is protecting you. All the thoughts, the feelings, all of it is just your brain making sure you will never hurt someone. That's it. That's what's happening, right? So a couple analogies here to help you really see and internalize and take in what's going on. This is going to sound silly, but I want you just for 5 seconds to imagine that there's an elephant in the room with you, just stomping around. Just imagine this big old elephant stomping around. Okay, I'm guessing you didn't yell, you didn't scream, you weren't like, what the heck? And you took your phone and started taking pictures, or you were like, how did this get in here? This is crazy. I'm guessing you didn't do any of that. Why? Why didn't you? Because you knew it was just your imagination. You knew it was just a thought. So if anything, you might have giggled or just kind of like, what the heck? This is weird. Why am I imagining this? But it didn't affect your life because you knew it was your imagination. Once you understand what is happening with your harm OCD, that all of it is just your brain imagining things up, trying to trick you, trying to lie to you, to try to convince you you're going to harm someone, then you can understand that all of the thoughts, all of them, all of the OCD thoughts, any thought telling you you're going to harm someone, it's just an imaginary elephant. That's it. It has no more reality in your life or impacting or affecting your life. It has no more reality there than that imaginary elephant did. None. Zero. It's nothing. It's literally, there is no existence there. There's no, it's just nothing. And you might say, okay, but the hardest part is the feeling. It feels so real. That is hard. But guess what? Right now, if you wanted to, could you feel yourself wearing your shirt? Right? Could you feel it on your shoulders, on your stomach? Could you feel those physical sensations? Yeah, you could. But your brain never perceives that sensory information because it's not important. Even though that physical sensation is there, right? It's always there. It's nothing. There's no significance, there's no importance there. Once you understand what is happening with the OCD, that all of the emotions, all the fear, all the anxiety, all the feeling like it's an urge, all of that is just chemicals. It's just physical sensations that your brain is imagining up or causing, triggering to happen to try to protect you, to try to convince you you're going to harm someone. So it's literally just chemicals flowing through your body. It's literally just sensations. That's it. So there's no more significance of those feelings than a shirt, because neither one is going to have any impact on your life. So all of the anxiety, everything you feel with the OCD is just really uncomfortable shirts. That's it. No matter how much you feel that emotion, it's not going to cause you to take an action. It's not going to determine your reality. It doesn't determine what type of person you are. It just is your brain trying to protect you. That's it. And even though it's so convincing, just understand, of course it's convincing. Your subconscious thinks it has to convince you you're going to harm someone in order to protect you, in order to make sure you won't. And guess what? Your subconscious is your own brain, so it knows exactly what memories, exactly what images, exactly what thoughts. It knows exactly what sensations, what feelings to trigger to actually convince you that that awful thing's going to happen, that you're going to harm someone. That's it. That's it. Everything, like I want you to take this in right now. Everything that you have been so afraid of. The things you're like, I just want to escape. Like more than anything in my life, I just want to get rid of this. I just want to understand that I won't harm someone. I just want to know that these things aren't true, that my brain's telling me. Guess what? You already have all those things you want, because it already is nothing. It already is just a lie. You can already know you're not going to harm someone. You can already know that all the fears, everything your brain's telling you, it's just nothing. It's literally nothing. Right? The things you want so much. I just want to know I'm a good person. I just want to know I'll never harm someone. I just want to know that I'll be an amazing mom and take amazing care of my kids. I just want to know these things. Those things are already true. Those things are already real. Those things are your reality. The OCD has no reality. It's just your brain distorting reality, imagining things up like the imaginary elephant. That's it. You already have all the things you want so much. It's just a matter of teaching your brain to see the truth. That's it. How relieving is that to understand? How amazing, how much of a burden is that to be lifted off your shoulders and just like finally feel free now that you can understand that everything your brain is telling you is just your brain making sure you'll never harm someone. It doesn't mean, like all of the OCD, all of it, it doesn't mean anything about you actually gonna harm someone. It doesn't mean anything about that you're actually gonna harm someone. No, it means you won't. How relieving is that? How amazing is it to understand what's going on in your brain that's actually causing that, so you can actually see this is what's happening and this is why, and that makes sense, and now I don't have to fear that, oh, I'm thinking this because I'm a monster. No. You're thinking it because you care so much about people. Something I heard one time that I loved is someone's therapist told them that of all the people that they could get to babysit their kids, they would choose someone with harm OCD because they know that the last thing that person would ever do is harm their child. Because that's why you're experiencing the harm OCD, is because you are so against it that your brain's trying to make sure you're protected from it. So take that in, understand that. And now the thing I promised you, the two steps on how to beat intrusive thoughts. And I'm going to make a full-on video going more in depth on this, so make sure that you subscribe so that you don't miss that video. But the two steps, just putting them simply, is one, you've got to change the meaning of the thoughts. You've got to teach your brain to understand that when that thought is getting triggered, it doesn't mean all the things that your brain is telling you it means. Because the reason you're so scared of the intrusive thought, the reason the intrusive thought is causing you to suffer so much, isn't because of the intrusive thought itself. It's because of the meaning you're giving to the intrusive thought. It's because of everything you're believing to be true about the intrusive thought. Like, think about it. If you could take the meaning away from the intrusive thought, So that it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're going to take that action. It doesn't mean you're out of control and will be stuck out of control forever. It doesn't mean you're a monster. It doesn't mean any of those things. If that thought, the horrible intrusive thought, if it didn't mean any of those things, then it would genuinely just be an image and it would be nothing. And it wouldn't cause you to be so distressed or fearful or anything. Because yeah, it'd be a thought you don't like you still wouldn't want it, but it would genuinely lose all of its power over you and all of its power to make you suffer just by you taking away the meaning that you're giving to the thoughts. And I can teach you how to do that. The second step is then, there are multiple strategies of how to do this, but you want to shift the image, shift the intrusive thought, change it to be something new, to teach your brain that every time that intrusive thought gets triggered, boom, automatically it becomes something else. Automatically it's no longer that scary thought. Because if every time the image, the thought of you harming your child got triggered, it turned into an image of you hugging your child, or got turned into some other random image that had nothing to do with anything and it was just random, didn't matter, or whatever, right? We can go more into this again. If it immediately was changed into something that wasn't so negative and scary, then it would lose all its power. So it'd be oh, well, anytime this bad thought gets triggered, it becomes something that's not such a bad thought. So it doesn't matter if the bad thought gets triggered, because as soon as it does, it will lose its power, right? You can teach your brain to do that, and I can teach you how to do that. So again, make sure you subscribe below so you do not miss that video when it comes out. But if you found this video helpful, make sure you share it with someone else that's been struggling with harm OCD. Let's free the world. Let's free yourself, and then let's free others, and spread this message of hope, this message of truth and understanding about the harm OCD, so that everyone struggling can know they're not a monster. Their brain has just gotten confused on the best way to protect them. So I hope you like this video, and I will see you in the next one.